Right, here we go then. Good afternoon, everybody. And we'll start with our Ask Me Anything session. So this is provided by Dynamics Consultants. My name is Johnny Fitch, and we've got a few questions to run through today. So without further ado, let's get into our questions for today. We've got three questions. Firstly, how can we adjust exchange rates within the system? Secondly, how can we adjust item costs? And thirdly, how do I run my year-end processing? Wonderful questions to start off with. So we're going to start looking at how can we adjust exchange rates. There's three steps to it that we're going to run through. The first thing is updating the currency exchange rate. The second thing is running the batch job that allows us to adjust the entries. And the third thing is we're just going to have a quick look and analyze some of the results. So let's pop into Business Central and start having a look. To start with, I'm going to go into my currencies from the search bar up at the top. And I've now got a list of all my currencies. I'm going to select one. We're going to use Euro today and adjust the exchange rate. Now, normally I might be able to do this online via a web service that allows me to get live updates in this exchange rates service option. But today, because I'm using demo data and demo dates, I'm going to process and I'm going to go with my exchange rates and exchange it manually. So once I've clicked on exchange rates, I can scroll down my table of all the previously changed ones for euros in the past, add a new line in. I'm going to add one in for today. We're going to add a rating. And we're going to pop back out of the table now that it's saved in the top right. So we've got a new exchange rate set on the system. After exchanging it though, we're going to want to adjust the exchange rates for any of the entries previously gone. So we can use this adjust exchange rate batch job to adjust GL entries, customer, vendor, and bank account entries within the system. If I click on here, I can put a starting date in, but normally it's good practice not to. You don't need to put a starting date in here. We can put our ending date as the date we've just exchanged, we've just added. We'll add in a document number. And you can see on here, I'm adjusting customers, vendors, and bank accounts in this adjustment. You can also put a filter on. So below, I can scroll down and add in a filter for euro. This will just specifically focus on the euro exchange rate and stop me looking at any others that might have had a change that I don't want to update at this time. Or you can leave it blank to update all your exchange rates at once. Now, when I hit OK on here, it's going to go away and adjust those entries within the system. And we'll be able to go and have a look at that. So I'll start off by going to my general ledger registers. And we should see a line up at the top, yep, here, where we've got a source code of exchange rate adjustment. And I can process from the top, click general ledger, and from here, have a look at all the lines posted for today with my exchange rates. So my unrealized, my realized, my vendor, bank, and customer lines posted to the GL. Now, interestingly, I can also see this on my vendor ledger entries. So if I click on vendors within here, I can find a euro vendor. I should have one somewhere. Yeah, down here with a balance. And click into their balance to see any invoices. And if I scroll along and click into my local currency, I can see I've got my initial entry, my invoice, but I've also got my unrealized loss line in here that's been added for today from that exchange adjustment that I've just done. Now that unrealized adjustment will become realized once we've received the money into the bank account. So once we've received money for that invoice, it will become realized rather than unrealized. And that's a quick process of changing your exchange rates within the system. Let's go on to our next question. So our next question was, how can we adjust item costs within the system? Now, normally it should be done automatically. So you wouldn't need to necessarily be adjusting your item costs regularly in the system, but occasionally there might be a scenario where you need to retrospectively adjust item costs, e.g. a freight charge or a late invoice on freight that's got different posting dates set up in the system. So we, as good practice, once a month recommend that you go in and manually process an update to your item costs. To do this, you can come into the system and I can find it. I'm searching in item adjustment and my adjust cost item entries job. I can put in a filter for item number. I can put in a filter for category, and it's going to post my adjustments straight to the GL. So in here, I'd click OK. It would go away, tidy up any adjustments that need to be done on my item costs in the background. And that's how we update and adjust item costs within the system. Now, our last question for today is running our year-end processing. Now, it's something we have to do, something we need to know, but something that only comes around once a year, so we don't regularly remember it. So I'm going to go through just 3 simple steps today: closing accounting periods, closing income statement accounts, and then the posting entry that we're going to post from our general ledger. Right, let's pop into the system one last time, and I'm going to start off with those accounting periods. And you'll notice if I go into my accounting periods, I've got my year of 2020 already closed and already date locked, but my year of 21 isn't, and that's the year that I'm going to be closing now. When I process up at the top and hit to close year, what it's going to do is it's going to select the oldest fiscal year that's not closed that it can find on the system, which is that 21 year, and ask me if I want to close it. Note that it does mention on here as well, once it's closed, it will be date locked, it will be closed, and you can't then go back in and reopen it. So now I've closed it, it's got these ticked in the background, they're grayed out, I can't reopen it. It's important to mention though that you can still go back and post to the GL within this year. So you can post to the GL, but they will have a prior year entry tag stuck on the line with it. So there's a field for prior year entry that will be filled in when you post back to this year of 21 now. So we've closed our accounting period. The next thing to do is close our income statement. And we can do that with a batch job of close income statement. It's selected the fiscal year already. We'd select a journal template. I'm just going to select the general one and the default batch on here. It's going to give it a document number. And as we go down, we can OK this to close our statement. It's given me some warnings on here about dimensions that need filling in, but I'm just going to skip over that for now. And you'll see it says my journal lines have been successfully created. So if I go to my journal now, I should see what that batch has done. And on here, yep, I see a load of lines for closing my income statement in my general journals in my default batch, which I selected. Now, one thing to mention on here as well is I've got a posting date, and that date is a fictitious date within the system. So it's between the last day of the old fiscal year and the first day of the new fiscal year. And the advantage of posting on a fictitious closing date is that you maintain the correct balances and ordinary dates for the fiscal year. So you don't affect your dates in the new fiscal year by posting to a fictitious fiscal date between the old year and the new year. It's at this stage where I can make any amendments. I can do a preview of posting by hitting post print and preview posting, and I can see any errors that I might come up against when I'm going to post it. A couple of dimension errors in there that I'd need to go and reconcile before posting my end of year. So we've closed an accounting period, we've gone in and we've done our closing income statement as well, created a journal that will manually post behind the scenes. And that brings us to the end of the questions that we had in for this time. Thank you so much for joining on today's AMA. I hope you found something relevant in there, or you find yourself doing something similar within the system on your own system, going through those scenarios. We will have a recording session of this that will be available at a later date for anyone that you think it might be relevant to within your company, any one of those questions, or to refer back to when you come to your year end, etc. later. And in the meantime, any questions for next time can be added when signing up for the next Ask Me Anything session. So you'll receive an invite, you'll receive a Microsoft form to fill in, and you can add any questions that you have on there. Thank you very much for joining today's AMA. I've been Johnny at Dynamics Consultants. See you soon.